Today's dedication is for Terax, who gave me a very generous 1 year's worth of subscriptions on Patreon. The girl who owns masses of acres versus the other girl that owns masses of acres, Progenitus and Anikthea. And I just want to insert here at this point in the video that the game does end in an anticlimactic crash, unfortunately. One of the decks, I mean, it's exactly the type of deck that I hate, that durdles around forever and doesn't really seem to do much of anything other than drag the game out, but I know some of you will find the deck interesting and the interactions interesting, so decided to upload it anyway, plus I ran out of time to get other more interesting, in my opinion, videos for you, so hopefully you all enjoy it and you have been warned. And we've got ramp. I like the Genesis chamber, it feeds into the other player unfortunately, but we should be getting ours out first, although it could eat removal straight away. Yeah, hopefully Vraska can keep us in cards, so we'll try this one. Alright, and an animate dead to get our commander out again is good, so if we're going to go for our commander next turn, we should go for the Genesis chamber here. Turn 1 Sol Ring from Progenitus as well. Won't help get the commander out, but obviously ramps him ahead, so 2 of us with fast mana. Alright, and draw into a land, so we will see if we can manage to stick our commander, probably going in for the Vraska next turn to keep drawing cards. And we do get the first Genesis chamber trigger off our own commander. Amusingly, these do have Wither. It's not just the black creatures, it's any creatures that we have in play. Luminarch Ascension makes it easy to decide which player we're swinging in towards. It's going to get 2 counters on it before it gets round to our turn. A Nature's Law, you'll assume that this deck is going to be rammed full of ramp. Yeah, I assumed that our commander wasn't going to survive there. That is a Feed the Swarm, had to do it at sorcery speed. Lost some life there. We will not put her back in the command zone because we do have the Animate Dead. So the second counter goes on Luminarch Ascension. I think this needs 4. Yeah, 4 counters on it, so it will take until this player's turn to get the last one, because we are going to swing in over there. Thankfully got the Mirror token to hit this player. Alright, and a Skin Render, so I think we want to keep landing our land drops, and there's not a guarantee that we're going to keep hold of the mana crypt, so we'll get down Vraska. I will hit this player first. And then it can be some Phyrexian Life into the cost, and then 5 mana for a Vraska. And we will proliferate just onto her. And we'll draw a card. Gets us a step closer to a land. That is a Phyresis Outbreak. Each opponent gets a poison counter. Not going to be relying on poison counters, but if we can keep proliferating, it'll take a long time. Probably won't work out for us, but you never know. Poison might become relevant this early in the game. Demonic Tutor from the Progenitus. Mana being held up by Anikthea, of course, probably to make an Angel token. Survival of the Fittest, hopefully not going to combo out straight away. More tutors incoming. A Starscream has haste, so that's the last thing we want to see against Vraska. Does have to deal damage to a player though. And Genesis Chamber triggers for the second time for a Mirror token, which the commander over here is going to make use of. Alright, ignores the Anikthea. He could have held off on another counter here, so the mana would be held off for no reason. If we hit over here and he hits over here, then it remains at 3. And he'd only get to spend the mana during the next turn cycle. But anyway, that is now online. The Monarchy being handed over here. I suppose we're free to just take the Monarchy away from this player. We draw ourselves into a Blood Artist, which I think is a bit too early for yet. We're not gonna... maybe we do just put plus counters on things. We could draw some cards here, or at least a card from the Mirror token. So let's go for the Animate Dead on the Massacre Girl, and pray that this doesn't get countered. Alright, it does land. So Genesis Chamber triggers again, giving us another creature. And because of the way I tap the mana, we'll go for Vraska now, because that means that I can't go for the Phyresis Outbreak before hitting this player to take the Monarchy. So I should have just tapped down 2 swamps there. Maybe we can just get the Blood Artist into play here. We'll draw a card with the Vraska. Missing out on poison counters potentially, but like I said before, I don't think they're going to be relevant. Didn't build the deck around those. Alright, gets us into a land for the turn, meaning that the Phyresis Outbreak is back online. So that means we can play the land and then take the Monarchy over here. So successfully hitting our opponent, we become the Monarch. And we'll get rid of these tokens now and give our opponents poison counters. Introducing the poison counters could be relevant against this player. Maybe there's more proliferate over here. But do manage to get rid of a mere token and draw another card. So we're doing quite well on the card advantage front this game. Triggering our commander for the first time. This player going through to the end step, not making an angel token. Not yet anyway, has a chance to respond to the monarchy when we draw a card there. Drawn into Toshiro Umizawa, by the way, and there is a contagion engine, speaking of proliferate, and now making an angel. So do they want to attack in at Vraska, or do they want to take the monarch away from us? Probably should go in at the planeswalker. The angel is going in at Vraska. These things do not have vigilance, so does have to tap in order to do that, but we'll keep the monarchy at least, and our planeswalker will not go down quite yet, but will likely go down to this thing. And then a No Mercy. Whenever a creature deals damage to you, destroy it. So the type of deck that wants to set up a pillow fort, apparently. Up against 2 mono black players, this one will be one to look out for. Survival of the Fittest, discarding a rare Dawnbringer in order to tutor for another creature. And that is Jingataxias Core Augur, so maybe he wants to discard that as well. Might be setting up reanimation. No, instead discarding to Fairy from hand. And fishing out a Seedborn Muse. So wants to play Seedborn Muse, untap all his stuff, and once he's got the mana, hardcast Jingataxias with Flash, I'm guessing. 3 mana away from the Jingataxias so far. Survival of the Fittest being activated again, pitching an Eternal Witness. And fishing out Kozilek, Butcher of Truth. We'll have to be careful discarding that to Survival of the Fittest. Now throwing away the Jingataxias. He's doing a hell of a lot of tutoring here. A Volrath's Shapeshifter. So was able to go for the Volrath Shapeshifter. As long as the top card of your library is a creature, it has the full text of that card. So yeah, a 3 mana clone of a sort. And one of the few times in which the top card of your graveyard is actually relevant. I see people in paper once in a blue moon kind of messing around with the cards in their graveyard, and yeah, they really shouldn't do that, because there are a few cards that appear once in a blue moon that care about the order in which cards are in your graveyard. Anyway, discarded some cards to hand size he didn't think about, so now the top card of the library is not Jingataxias anymore. It is instead Seedborn Muse, has been discarded as well, but does have the foregrip of 7 in hand, thanks to the Jingataxias triggering at the end of the turn. Solemn Simulacrum for the mono black player, and gets a Genesis Chamber there as well, so another mere token into play. Just intrigued to see where this is going to turn in. And alright, he's taking the monarchy away from us. I was hoping we'd leave Vraska in play, because if we introduce some minus counters next turn, I was considering going for Toshiro if we lose our commander to get the demonic tutor here. But seeing as how we're not losing our planeswalker, not commander, seeing as how we're not losing our planeswalker, I think I'll focus on Skim Render and Contagion Clasp and then do some proliferating. The monarch is successfully stolen, and this thing is transformed due to that. So they do draw a card to the monarchy, and Starscream is going to deal 2 damage to each of us. Or, no, actually it's only a target opponent loses 2 life, pointed at the Anikthea. At the same time, the Progenitus seems to be going off over there, losing our first Mana Crypt flip. Alright, a Nest of Scarabs. Whenever a minus counter is put on a creature, that many black insects. So, unfortunately, I think we have to forego the Nest of Scarabs at the minute so that we can go Skim Render into Contagion Clasp, then draw a card and hope for a land, because we don't want to be missing lands here. And as much as I want to go after the Seedborn Muse, I dare say more cards are going to be put in the graveyard here, so Seedborn Muse becomes less relevant, unlike this flyer that can take out our Planeswalker. Now, what are the default power and toughness on the clone? It is a 0-1. Okay, so as soon as a land is put into the bin, that thing will die with a minus counter on it. So maybe that's the thing for the Contagion Clasp. This thing has been successfully debuffed to a 1-1, and as soon as we proliferate, that will go down. So more likely to draw into some lands that we need here. So yeah, debuff the Seedborn Muse with 1 single minus counter. Going for Survival of the Fittest again. That is a Zur the Enchanter, turning this thing into Zur the Enchanter. And then a Sigarda gives it hexproof, so that will counter the ability. So we were only going to get rid of the 1 creature here anyway. Might have been an idea to go for the minus onto this, and then, yeah, they always could have responded with the hexproof anyway. Let's go for the 0, proliferate on Vraska and the Angel, and we will lose a life and draw a card. Oh, and actually I forgot to proliferate the poison counters as well, that's annoying. Alright, a swamp, so we've got lands for the next few turns. Don't think we've missed a land drop yet, which is good. And then shall we make use of some wither creatures? They'll probably just take the damage, but never know, might make a block with the mirror token. So those can go down the middle. Noteworthy that they have tutored for Sheoldred, the Whispering One, as well as that Sigarda previously. Not sure if I mentioned it, but we know of 2 of the creatures that they've got in hand at the moment. Just deciding to take the damage as we assumed he would. Oh, I misread this before actually. I always misremember what this does. I never play with Toshiro. It's from our graveyard we can cast, so we couldn't have stolen the Demonic Tutor previously. Can recast this, which might be of some relevance, because it is a one-sided board wipe potentially. Missing out on the proliferate of the poison counters could also be relevant though. But yeah, getting down Nest of Scarabs and Toshiro sooner than later would be good. Noteworthy that there is a Hall of Heliod's Generosity on the battlefield here as well. Just passing straight through the turns, so the 3-colour player here has decided on a Mystical Tutor, so that's tutor number 10 is it? A Skyshroud Claim tutored for. Paying to discard a card with the Shapeshifter. Discarding the Sheoldred, turning it into that to start reanimating stuff. So an intriguing Valrath Shapeshifter deck at the moment. And deciding to reanimate the original Seaborn Muse. Creating another mirror token with the Genesis Chamber. So if we do go for this next turn, we're going to draw a decent chunk of cards. And Swamp Walk goes straight through us and onto the Vraska, because we do control swamps, of course, in a mono black deck. So down goes Vraska. Then casting that Skyshroud Claim we saw tutored, which switches off the Shapeshifter again. Using Survival of the Fittest again. This time is Nova Blast Worm. Whenever it attacks, destroy all other creatures. And tutoring out Vilis, Broker of Blood. Going for Survival of the Fittest again. Discarding the Vilis in order to activate it. And it's another Praetor in the form of Eleshnorn. So that will debuff all the creatures in play if they make this a copy of it. Could pay life into Vilis first. And they are doing so. Target creature, -1/-1. That is a mirror token. And they draw a card for doing that. And deciding to go through to the end step, so just holding the Eleshnorn over us at the moment. Noteworthy that that is -2/-2, so these creatures that we see go down to the Eleshnorn we will draw off with the Massacre Girl. But if we go for the Phyresis Outbreak with the Toshiro, then they can go for Eleshnorn in response to go for the buffs. Drawing a card during the draw step, we'll have Anikthea lose 2 life, still not paying attention to what Progenitus is doing over here seemingly. So now we see Massacre Girl. Once the Eleshnorn comes out, it's 2 of us that are going to be drawing cards. Yeah, and going straight through the Vilis player. 1 to not get the minus counters on it from the Wither, but also to draw some cards on the attack. So going up to 8 in hand. And is still the Monarch over here, so drawing a card, and one of us will lose 2. And pointing the 2 life over to the left again. That is a Blade of the Blood Chief, alright, so we could buff up our Massacre Girl upon seeing the Eleshnorn. I think getting down Blood Artist is probably going to be a good idea. So that'll be 4, 5, 6 and 7. No means of minus counters at the moment, annoyingly. So let's see what our opponent does in response to an equip with Blade of the Blood Chief. Might want to get this down before that is equipped. And that might change what we end up playing here, because we will draw cards. Alright, that is allowed to equip, so we'll go Blood Artist, which triggers the Genesis Chamber. So the more tokens in play, the better Blood Artist is going to be, of course. And we'll try ourselves a Nest of Scarabs as well, just continuing to set up here, really. I'm not too hopeful for doing much of anything this game against the Progenitus player. I assume he's just setting up mass reanimation at this point. I'm going to potentially give him even more card draw. We'll swing in down the middle, hope that he blocks with some Wither. Now going for something in response. And now going for the Eleshnorn, so we've encouraged him to do that at least. Blood Artist is going to be all directed at the middle. But we did get the plus counters on our commander at least from Blade of the Blood Chief, so also going to draw 3 cards from our Massacre Girl. There's 4 cards from the other one. And now Shapeshifter being turned into a Scavenging Ooze. That is in order to activate the Survival of the Fittest. The Scavenging Ooze has been discarded for a Notion Thief. We're just playing against Tutor Tribal really, so Notion Thief is going to switch off all this card draw. Unless he wants to go for Survival of the Fittest. He can play the Notion Thief at instant speed from his hand. So, yeah, has now turned the Shapeshifter into a Notion Thief and tutored out a Selenia Dark Angel. So that is in his hand. Notion Thief is in the bin, along with Kozilek still. So I'm guessing he's going to discard Kozilek at some point to shuffle things back into the library and carry on with Survival of the Fittest. So that's all the card draw stolen. Hopefully a couple of angels will be made over here and they can start swinging in down the middle as well, helping us out. Well, the commander is now a 10-11 with Menace and Wither, but we're giving our opponents mere tokens, unfortunately. I was hoping that we'd draw into a means of mass debuffs, like -1/-1 on all creatures. Okay, it's another tutor. That is Kozilek being discarded this time to shuffle everything back. So they will shuffle before the tutor resolves, so they'll be able to grab anything they want here. And that is a Platinum Empyrean. Your life total can't change. So we've got an answer for everything. The Blood Artist is still going to gain us life at least. Alright, but before that, going for the Survival of the Fittest again. And it's Sheoldred again. So Platinum Empyrean was discarded in order to turn the Shapeshifter into that. Sheoldred in hand. Realm Seekers was revealed off the final resolution of Survival of the Fittest. Just taking the damage from Skim Render because his life total can't change. At the end of the turn, actually hoping to see some angels now. And yep, deciding to make 2 of those. Bear in mind this can be turned into a Sigarda. Survival of the Fittest again at the end step. Searching out to Fairy. And the Selenia is now in the bin. Turning that into a 3/3. So obviously they can pay the life to bounce the Shapeshifter back to hand. There is a Vault of the Archangel over here now. Okay, amazingly going in at Massacre Girl over there. I mean, this player is largely being ignored for some reason. So we're pretty much handing it over to Progenitus at this point. So successfully taking the Monarchy, that will trigger Starscream. And now we see a Meat Hut Massacre where X is 4, so going to try to get rid of the Seaborn Muse and the Massacre Girl over here. So bouncing the Shapeshifter back to hand with the Angel. Had to pay 2 life for that, going down to 28. Now this means that our Massacre Girl is going to get pretty big. So some more Massacre Girl triggers going on the stack. The Notion Thief is in the library again, I think. It was shuffled, wasn't it? So whenever an opponent's creature dies, you gain a life. And whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses a life. So we each lose 2 here. Alright, so now the Massacre Girl is a 13-14 with Menace and Wither. See if we're actually allowed to draw some cards here and play some magic. Looks like we are being allowed to draw here. Okay, but before any more resolution, there is something else going on here. Okay, and just tutoring out Notion Thief again. Well, we cleared a couple of lands off the top at least. So thanks to Notion Thief going up to 25 cards in hand. And is able to shuffle his library at will into the graveyard. Discarded an Anger to the Survival of the Fittest previously, by the way. So everything has haste on his side of the field. Okay, and then the game has crashed. Superb. So that was an abject waste of time. It felt as though that game was going to go on forever anyway. Because as great as those interactions are with Survival of the Fittest, it's kind of like, well, what are you actually trying to do? So yeah, if you've seen this video, then as usual, it's the best of a bad bunch. I'll put a warning at the beginning to say that it ends up in a crash. So if you want to watch it anyway, then you have been warned. Apologies for that, but I only have a finite amount of time and Magic Online is a piece of crap. So hope you all enjoyed it. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.